Welcome to Moments for Moms. Thank you so much for taking some time out of, I know, your busy day to sit down and join us. Y'all, today I am beyond excited. I have Zoro here with me. You might know him from being a world-renowned drummer. I'm just beside myself and so excited, but he has wrote a book. It's called Maria's Scarf. It's about his story, and I'm gonna show you the book trailer right now. So grab your tissues along with your cup of coffee and tea and take this moment just for you.
When I was 7 years old, my mother knelt down beside me, tied her orange silk scarf around my neck, and whispered, "One day, my precious son, you will do something phantasmical with your life." With those words, my fate was sealed. Now, 50 years later, it's time I share my story. A story about the power of a mother's words to transform a child's future. I would go from surviving the rough streets of Compton to living among the elite in Beverly Hills. From dodging eviction notices to traveling around the globe with the world's wealthiest people. Though I would go on to become a world-renowned drummer, my story is really not about drumming. It's about dreaming and overcoming insurmountable obstacles to make those dreams come true. It's a love story between a mother and a son, an immigrant woman who came from Mexico to the United States to make a better life for her children, a single mother who raised 7 children alone in pursuit of the American dream. It's a story about a family's unbreakable bond and their struggle to survive fatherlessness, economic hardship, and racism. It's a story about a quirky, hilarious, and tenacious kid who refuses to give up on his dream. Part sinner, part saint, but all heart in his epic quest for significance. And it's a story about the power of friendship and how those who believe in us help to shape the course of our lives. Now more than ever, we need stories of hope and triumph. Stories that bring out the best in humanity and remind us what matters most. Universal stories of love, perseverance, and the power of dreaming big. A story that kneels down beside you and whispers in your ear, "One day, brave soul, you will do something phantasmical with your life."
I hope you all enjoyed that trailer as much as I did. It absolutely brought tears to my eyes. I could just think about myself and the love that I have for my little guy, Charlie. So I know that it touched y'all as well. And I hope you're as excited as I am to talk to my extremely special guest today, Zoro. I'm so honored. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Ashley, so much. I'm honored and it's a privilege to be here. I'm just happy to join you and try to share some things that will help all those moms out there.
Yeah, and you wore pink for
moms.
Well,
I wore pink, you know, pink and black. I love pink.
Love it.
But, you know, I wore an orange scarf in my second grade picture, so I'm the guy who pink isn't going to be a problem with.
We're going to put this picture up on the screen because I can't. It is the cutest picture ever. I love it. So start off. Tell us about who you are.
Yeah.
Start off there.
Well, okay, so first of all, my name is Zoro. I have spent the last 45 years touring around the world and recording with various artists. So started off with Philip Bailey from Earth, Wind & Fire, then The New Edition, Bobby Brown, Lenny Kravitz, Frankie Valli, Lincoln Brewster, a lot of Christian people. So as a career, I've been a touring and recording drummer for many, many years. And God's blessed me with being able to live out that dream. But behind that is a story of a kid which is what the memoir is about. You know, I was abandoned by my father when I was an infant. My mother raised 7 children alone with no father and 0 family. I grew up with no other relatives. It was just my mother and siblings. There were no uncles, aunts, grandparents, cousins. Those people existed, but they weren't in our life. They were either in Mexico, and my father was
Right.
half Irish. So I grew up in this very difficult family to survive. And but the seven of us were tight and we were close. So I grew up in Compton, California. I grew up in the hood of Compton. And then by the time I was in fourth grade, we moved like probably 30 to 40 times.
Wow.
Sometimes in my red radio flyer wagon, we would move the furniture from one apartment to the next because we didn't have a U-Haul. So, but I still, even though I had a really harsh and difficult, dire circumstances I grew up in, I had this mother who had this incredible faith and this incredible wonder about her, and she had this great expectation. So yeah, I've been on an incredible journey, and so from that we went to Oregon, where where we eventually lived in the 1962 Chevy Nova with the rest of us, and then eventually we had a tent, and then we had a little tiny 11-foot camper, and sort of built our way from there. So yeah, so when people know about my career and everything,
Yeah.
they have no idea of the backstory.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love something that, so the memoir is called Maria's Scarf.
Yes, Maria's Scarf, a memoir of a mother's love, a son's perseverance in dreaming big.
Mm. And I love something that you said in the book trailer. It said the power of mother's words to transform a child's future.
Yeah, well,
Man.
there was something, so the cover of the book has me wearing my mother's scarf. So the story behind that is I'm getting ready to go into the second grade for school pictures. And there's a budding rock star in me that I'm not aware is there, and I just don't want to
So
look like I
awesome.
just don't want to look like everyone else. So
was the green shirt like the uniform?
no, the green shirt was just like a little green
Okay.
short sleeve, shirt, and I looked. My mother always liked to wear scarves, and that's why I still wear scarves in her honor. So she liked to wear scarves, and then I said, Mama, you look like a movie star. I want to look like you. I want to look like you. And I said, tomorrow's my school pictures. Can I wear your scarf on my picture? I want to look cool like you. And she goes, no, mijo, you can't wear a scarf. The boys will beat you up. This is the United States. This is not Mexico. You can't wear a scarf. And I'm like, Mom, please let me wear a scarf. I want to be different. I want to look cool. And then I tried to talk her into it. And I said, well, Elvis Presley wears a scarf and Tom Jones wears a scarf. And those were like big stars of the day. And then she goes, oh, you got me there, mijo. So then as she relented and she knelt down and tied her orange silk scarf around my neck. Then she whispered in my ear and she said, one day, my precious son, you will do something phantasmical with your life. And that was the word she used, phantasmical, which was kind of a mixture. She spoke perfect English, but she was from Mexico City, so she kind of sometimes like mixed a couple words. And so instead of fantastic or amazing, it became phantasmical. But phantasmical is a great word because it put in my spirit that I would do something phantasmical. And she always told me these phantasmical stories. She told me that when I was born in the hospital, she said she saw a great light around me like a halo. And I said, Mama, you're just trying to make me feel good, because I didn't have a father. She goes, no, mijo, I wouldn't lie about that. I'm a Catholic woman. As God is my witness, there was a light around you that felt like and so she was always telling me I was set apart for great things, and nothing in our normal life or circumstances would have shown that,
Right.
because we were just dirt poor and had nothing, right? But she would always say these things, and to the day she died, she swore that those are the things she saw. So, and she filled my head with dreams and wonder, and she would use music to keep me dreaming because she loved music like immensely. So she would put on songs like Young at Heart by Frank Sinatra, fairy tales can't come true, they can happen to you if you're young at heart. She put on High Hope. She would put on all this music, and the lyric of the songs is where I found my hope and found my dreams and the power of the songs.
Yeah.
So her words, and any mother's words out there, the most powerful thing we have that God gave us really are two things. The power of our tongue, the things that we say, and also the power of dreaming and believing. The fact that we can dream up something that doesn't exist, and then if we get after it and do what it takes, we create things that never existed on the planet with this ability to dream. But words have the most power of anything. Yeah. And so a mother's words, when my mother spoke, and she spoke this way about me throughout my life, not just one time, but she would always say, you're going to do something great. Don't worry, mijo. Everything's going to work out. And it turned out to be so, but I don't think I'd be the same. I know I wouldn't be the same without her words and without her love.
Absolutely. So where in your story did this turn? Did it take a turn?
Yeah.
How did you go from that and living in a tent in an 11-foot trailer? How did that happen?
Yeah, well, so we go from Compton to Oregon, and that's really like going from like the inner urban city. There was an old sitcom that I used to grow up with. It was called Sanford and Son, and it took place in the. So it was like going from Sanford and Son to Little House on the Prairie. It was the juxtaposition was extreme, and it was crazy. But in Oregon, I took an after-school job. I was 16. And I needed to make some money, so I asked my counselor for an after-school job if he could find. He said, "What do you like?" I said, "Oh, if you could find me something around music, that would be great." But he comes back a week later and he doesn't find anything around music. He goes, "Sorry, the only thing I have is a janitor position." And so I became the janitor at my own high school. Like so the bell rings and all the kids are seeing me vacuum and clean the toilets, and of course they're making fun of me, and the jocks are pushing me around and bullying me, and because it's just a belittling job, right? But I needed the money. But this is how God had a plan. And my mother always said, just do the best work with whatever God opens for you, and God will take you to other places. So I did my best work. And at the end of that job, I would clean the band room. That was my last part of the job, was clean the band room. So I could clean it real quick. And it left me 10 minutes to sneak on the drums and play them. And I had never played before. I never even owned a set or had sticks. But I would sneak on there and play. But God gave me a gift. I guess I could play from the get-go. And so one day the band director was in there and caught me on the drums, and he came out and startled me, and I thought he was going to fire me. He said, "Wait right here. He's going to go get another guy." And they came back and said, "Do what you were doing, kid. Play like you were playing." And I played, and they looked at each other. It was like, "Where have you been hiding? Like you've got this incredible rhythmic gift. Like we need you in the stage band, the jazz band, the swing choir." That is how I got. That's what changed my destiny, and how I got in the whole school band program was I was the janitor at my high school. So God used that. Because I had been trying to get into the school band program since the 4th grade. Every year I tried to say, I want to be a drummer and play. And every year they were like, we have too many drummers. We have too many drummers. So I was turned away until the 10th grade, you know. And so what's interesting is in the 9th grade, I missed 60 days of school. And school, it's because I didn't like all the bullying, and I didn't like my mother was Mexican, and they didn't like that, and they didn't like that we were poor. The neighbors shot our dogs. You know, it was like this horrible, horrific experience of living in the rural Oregon where we weren't very welcomed. And so I didn't like school, but I loved studying, but I didn't like school. So I would find reasons to, and I thought I was going to be the world's greatest chicken farmer. So I had started a chicken business, and I grew it from 2 to this big. And so I was at home reading my chicken books and figuring out how to make coops and learning about their diseases. So I was this kid always dreaming, figuring out what I'm going to do. Whatever I'm going to do is going to be phantasmical. I was going to be the most phantasmal chicken farmer in the world. Till my St. Bernards came along and killed all the chickens, and then that led me back to the interest in music thing. So anyway, my mother always championed all of my dreams, and she's the one who said, well, you could start off with 2 chickens, you know, because we couldn't afford like cows or goats or horses. So chickens were the cheapest thing, right? So so my whole life is like, it's like this Forrest Gump kind of story. It's like, and from there, the chickens went to the drums, got in the school band. Then I graduated high school, moved down from Eugene, Oregon, back to Los Angeles. I joined a top 40 cover band, and our dream, the gig was to get the gig at Disneyland. That was the dream. So we auditioned for Disneyland, didn't get the gig. Now I'm stuck in LA, and the band's not really working much. So I called my mother and said, Mom, I think I'm going to have to come back home. The band's falling apart. And she told me something. I'll never forget it. She looked at me. I mean, it was over the phone. She goes, don't come home, mijo. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like the band's falling apart. I'm going to have to, no, don't come home. If you come home, you'll never leave. You've got to find a way to stay in LA. You have the talent, you have the ability, but there's no opportunities here for you. So I was scared. So I really didn't know what to do. And my sister was a model, and she had just got a modeling contract. She had an apartment with her girlfriend, and they had an apartment in Beverly Hills. And so I just called her. She said, call your sister. Maybe she's in town and see what. And so she invited me to stay at her apartment. And that's where I stayed at her apartment. And then I still didn't know what to do. I'm only like 18 years old.
Wow.
So I go down to Beverly Hills High School. I get this vision to go down to the high school because I want to meet kids my own age. And so I go down to the high school, and I go, well, how am I going to, I'm out of high school, but I don't feel like I'm college material. I can't hang out at the UCLA campus. So I go and I sit down with a boom box a pimped out hat, yellow silk shirt, yellow pants. I mean, I looked like Big Bird on the lawn. You couldn't have missed me. And I put the ghetto blaster on with my practice pad and sticks. And at lunchtime, I just start cranking to Earth, Wind, and Fire. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if there's any music people here, kids, they're going to go, who's that guy? Who's the new guy? So what happened within a short amount of time, this kid comes up and starts talking to me. Well, it ends up being Lenny Kravitz. And but he's only a 16-year-old kid at the student. And then the other kid who comes up to me, his name is Kennedy Gordy. Well, his father was Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown Records, which had the Jackson 5, Stevie Wonder, the Supreme, all the greatest groups of the 60s and 70s. So, and then they were like, hey, are you new here? And I'm like, yeah, I just transferred from Eugene. So like I had to just kind of pretend like I was going to, because like, why are you sitting on the lawn here? So next thing you know, I'm going to school every day like I'm a new student. And no one knew that I didn't go to school there.
It's so different now.
No, now I went back to Beverly Hills High the other day, and it's all gated. I mean, it's like fences. Like I just walked in.
Right. Just
this was
chose
1980.
to go to school there.
No security, just sitting on the line. And to this day, there are people that I went to Beverly with that think that I actually went there. But that's how it all started. And then those guys took a liking to me. They loved me. They loved my talent, and they were starting to get my name around all around LA. And that's how things began. But it's all been like by faith. It's all been with this mother's instruction and love. I mean, she gave me tough love that day. Don't come back.
And how hard for a mom to say, because I feel like if Charlie was gone, I'd be like, yes, please come home.
Come home.
I remember when I moved here to Nashville from Florida, and I will never forget the vision of my dad screaming out the window as he left me in I don't even know how I lived in the part of town that I lived in. I lived on top of somebody's house, downtown Nashville, in a little apartment, and it was next to a hut house where all kinds of fun things happened. And
fun things, yeah.
They had a pit bull. I remember this pit bull, and it was tied to one of those like running chains. And I used to make pancakes every morning and fling pancakes out the window to this dog because I felt like it didn't eat. I'm like, it was always back there. But I remember my dad screaming and crying out the window, my baby, don't leave my baby. I mean, wow. I'm like, this is a terrible idea. I'm going to go back home. So I can't imagine like the faith of your mom to say, no, don't come back.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like as a parent now, on the other side of like my dad screaming out the window.
That'd be hard to say.
I can't even imagine Charlie saying, I want to come home, and me being like, yeah, okay, come back. I got your room. You could just live here forever. Like,
well, that's what I thought she would say.
Yeah.
In my mind, I thought she was going to welcome me back.
Yeah.
But the backstory of my mother is that even though we grew up completely dirt poor, my mother's dream was to become a movie star. And she was an actress in Mexico. And she was very beautiful, and she was doing little bit parts in the movies. And then she married the wrong guy, and life happened. But so I think inside of her, because she didn't get to live her dream, she wanted me to live that dream. And she knew the cost of not being able to live out that dream. And so she was like, don't come back. Because she saw the talent in me that I could possibly do it. But I need to be in the proximity of where things could happen.
Absolutely,
you know? So I think those must have been hard words for her to say. And then when I finally did start making it, and I was on TV and I was on the covers of magazines, it was so thrilling for me, more so because it's like I could show my mother that you believed in me. See, you always said this would happen. I was more excited for her than I was for me, just that, and that she got to see, and through me vicariously, she got to meet many different celebrities and be around it. And Frankie Valli was one of her idols, from Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. And I remember I was doing a concert in Las Vegas, but I didn't tell her I got the gig. So I just told her, hey, I'm flying you to Las Vegas to stay at the Sands Hotel, which is where Sinatra used to play and all that. And I said, I'm just doing some cover gig for somebody I'm subbing, but I bought you tickets to go see Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, you and my brother. And so she says, oh, you can't come with me home? I'm like, no, I can't come because like I'm doing this other gig, but I knew you'd love it. So then she's got tickets for the concert. She's totally disappointed that I don't go. And then they pull the curtains back and she sees me playing, and she realizes that I'm on the gig. And that was like one of her favorite. And so Frankie gives a big shout out to her from the stage. Special. Then he brings her backstage and gives her a dozen persimmon roses and, and just pulls out the red carpet. And he goes, Frankie's got that Italian accent. You know, he goes, Zarelli. He called me Zarelli like it's Italian.
Like it's pasta?
Zarelli is one of the best drummers I've ever had in my life. You raised a great son. He's told me all about you. You know, and so it was just joyous because she never did get to live out that dream. So I wrote the memoir as a tribute to her, because it's really for families, it's for mothers, it's especially for mothers.
Yes.
It's for dreamers. So you don't have to be a drummer to be interested in my memoir, because it's not really about drumming.
Right, no.
It's about life. It's about this mother and son. I was extremely close to my mother, so there was this incomparable bond. And then our family had this unbelievable, unbreakable bond, because that's how we leaned on each other to survive. And then it's about this kid with a dream. So I wrote that, and you know, when I was recording the audiobook the other day for Blackstone Publishing, I was driving to the studio in Ashland, and I put on some of my mother's favorite music, and I just began to weep because I could feel her. She would put on those songs like Glenn Miller, Moonlight Serenade, and then she would dance with me when my heart was broken or something. And then I could just look up at her long eyelashes and her beautiful brown eyes, and I could feel the warmth of her love. And so I wrote about all these things in the memoir, and I wrote about when she passed away. And on the way to the studio, you know, I could feel her spirit, and I was like, Mama, I'm going to make you famous. You're going to be famous around the world, posthumously, but you're going to be famous, but for something more important than being like a movie star, for being a mother, a universal job, the most important job in the world. There's nothing as deep as a mother's love. And I said, people are going to know Maria, they're going to know what you struggle with, and you're going to inspire mothers all over the world, you know, how to be resilient, how to look to God for faith. And this is a word for all the mothers out there, is because it's the toughest job in the world, whether you're rich or whether you're poor. The gig is still a hard gig. Each people on each spectrum of the economics have different challenges, right?
Yeah.
And so it's all hard. Just being a parent is hard, period. And it's a thankless job for the most part. And it's a kind of a job that's the most, mothers do all the loving and the caring and the nurturing and the healing in the world, all the heavy lifting, emotional heavy lifting, but they never get kind of credit for it. It's just like you're just a mom. So my word to all the moms out there is that every little thing you're doing, your child will remember. Because here I am, 61 years old, and I've written a 400-page book that honors every part of my mother. And even though it's been 20 years since she passed, there's not a day that goes by where I don't think, gosh, I wish I could tell her more of just the amazing things that she did and how it's impacted my life. And now I've been a preacher for almost 40 years. I preach at prisons. I've been at San Quentin. I've been to Folsom. I've been to the lowest places of Ghana, Africa. I've ministered to the up and outers. I traveled with Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft, the fourth richest guy in the world. So the Lord has taken me from the lowest of the low to the highest of the high. But I'm an encourager like Barnabas. I'm a teacher like Paul. I'm an evangelist like John, and wrapped up in a musician like David. But I'm my mother's son. All of the joy that I have, all of the encouragement that I give and the enthusiasm is all because that's who she was. So everything you're pouring into your kids, even when it doesn't look like it. You know, I was a typical teenager, like when you're 14 and you argue with your mother and you don't want to listen to her, and Mo, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, my 3-year-old does that mostly.
Your 3-year-old, and he'll do it until he's about 17.
Great, thank you.
Well,
There's your encouragement.
But it's just kind of the natural flow of things, right? Kids never think their parents know what they're talking about. And then some other person will say the same thing your mother's been saying, and all of a sudden it's the gospel. Like, oh my gosh, like this guy told me I should do this and do that. I'm like, I've been telling you that all your life, you know. You know what I mean? But the word out there to mothers is never give up, and realize that everything you're saying is making rich deposits into an account, and one day they'll make those withdrawals and they'll know that it's because of you, and they'll go, I gave my mother a hard time. And so even if you're a single parent like my mother was with 7, even if you have 3 different past husbands, even if you've had one guy for your whole life, everyone's scenario is different, but it's hard for all of them. But everything you do matters, and nothing is greater than your love. I'm married, been married for 29 years. I have an incredible wife, Renee, who's an incredible mother. And I'm a loving dad because of what I didn't have. But I can't compare to her, because there's something about a mother's ability to connect with their kid that even a father doesn't have that. Even as much love as he has, it's not the same connection as the mother. You know, and so as a dad, I wanted to be the greatest dad in the world. My kids would tell you that. but she holds a place in their heart that I can, because we're different.
Right. Yes.
You know, so the mother thing, just never give up and just realize that even though it looks like a mess, your kid could be on drugs, he could be in jail, he could be whatever, all that can turn around with the power of words. And I've seen it over and over. So no situation is too low for the depths of your love, because love is what conquers all.
Yeah, that's so good. I can't thank you enough. We're out of time. And I wish we could sit here forever and talk, because you are such an inspiration, and your mom has inspired me.
Well, thank you.
And I know she's going to inspire so many of the other moms. Thank you for being here.
It's been an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for being with us. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, and we'll see you next time.
We want to connect with you. Make sure to visit our website, momentsformoms.tv, for the latest episodes of the show, guest information, resources, and so much more. Visit momentsformoms.tv today.
I'm here with my friend and coworker, Elise. She is a mom of triplets, and we're here also with one of her triplets,
Amarissa.
I knew I wasn't going to get it right. Anyway,
Oops.
Elise, if you could give the moms of multiples a piece of advice, what would it be?
What I would say is, as crazy as life gets and as hectic as things are, always take a moment for yourself to pray and just enjoy the moment, because it goes so quickly. And before you know it, they're all grown up. And prayer in the morning is the most important. That's the biggest thing. And they turn out beautiful.
Sweet. Thank you. Thanks, Elise.
For the Christian Television Network, I'm Dr. Brooks Gibbs, and welcome back to your Mental Health Moment. Today's focus is hope. My favorite definition of hope is absolute assurance of coming good. And Romans 15, verse 13, really backs this up. It says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." Cultivating hope is an essential skill for our mental health. Even when circumstances are challenging, continue to trust in the absolute assurance of coming good. It's trusting in God and holding on to the joy and peace that only he can provide. And let this hope fill you and empower you, transforming your perspective and invigorating your life. Hope has the power to shine light on the darkest paths and guide us toward a brighter future. So wherever you are, whatever you're facing, hold on to hope and let it lead you forward. Don't put it off, because hope deferred will make your heart sick. Put it on. Hope in God. For the Christian Television Network, I'm Dr. Brooks Gibbs.
Moments for Moms is more than just a show. It is a community of moms encouraging each other on this incredible journey we have been called to. Join our private Facebook group to share your mom moments, questions, small victories, and connect with other moms as we all come together in this ministry called motherhood. We can't wait to see you there.